Golf carts are making their way onto the city streets in the Florida Panhandle. News 4's Dayside anchor Bayla Walker joins us live from the newsroom with more about this developing story from Panama City. So Bayla, what can you tell us?
The officials are discussing an ordinance which would lessen golf cart requirements in places like downtown Panama City. City leaders say golf carts are not considered street legal unless they meet the requirements of a low-speed vehicle. Now, some of these qualifications include a top speed under 25 miles per hour and compliance with safety standards. But currently, vehicles that do meet these needs are allowed to operate downtown. The new ordinance allows golf carts that do not meet the requirements of a low-speed vehicle to operate in downtown Panama City and in other areas.
I think it'd be fantastic for downtown to have the golf carts, especially for the people that live in the cove.
And many Panama City locals say that they are in favor of the ordinance, but through some social media sites, viewers shared that they are against this potential change. Kinsley?
Interesting stuff there. Bayla Walker, thank you for that report.